You could see it on Minnesota's faces before the series was even over. Not fear, not panic, just exhaustion. The kind that comes from realizing the team across from you is younger, longer, smarter, calmer, and somehow already ahead of schedule. Because this wasn't just the Spurs beating the Wolves in 6, this felt like the moment the entire league finally understood what was coming. San Antonio didn't just steal games, right? They controlled them. Every run Minnesota made felt temporary. Every adjustment the Wolves tried felt answered just 2 possessions later. And the scary part is, the Spurs never looked rushed doing it. They played like a team that already knew where the story was heading months ago. And it starts with Victor Wembanyama because of course it does, but the biggest mistake people make is acting like this dude is only him because he's tall or blocking shots. And that's just casual shit right there. What actually destroyed Minnesota was how calm he made everything feel for San Antonio. The Wolves tried attacking him physically early in the series, tried forcing him into foul trouble, tried speeding him up with multiple bodies in the paint, but none of it really mattered because he never looked emotional. Well, actually that one play in game 4, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. But other than that, he looked completely fine. He'd get scored on, jog back down on the floor, then hit a pull-up 3 or erase a shot at the rim 2 possessions later. By game 5, you could literally feel Minnesota second-guessing wide open drives because they knew he was lurking somewhere near the paint. That changes an entire offense psychologically. And offensively, the numbers were ridiculous without even being forced. Efficient scoring, double-digit rebounds, elite rim protection. But more than stats, it was just timing, yo. Every big play came exactly when the Spurs needed it. Then you look at how San Antonio built around him this season, and it starts making more sense why this team feels different from the usual young playoff team. They weren't just talented, they were organized. The Spurs spent the entire year slowly figuring out identity, pace, rotations, spacing, defensive matchups. Early in the season, they looked inconsistent. Some nights the offense stalled, some nights the shooting disappeared. But after the All-Star break, something changed. The ball movement got sharper, their transition defense improved. They stopped playing like a rebuilding team trying to prove itself and started playing like a team expecting to win. That's why this Wolves series didn't feel fluky. San Antonio had been already trending towards this for months. And honestly, Anthony Edwards looked trapped for large stretches of this series. Not because he played horribly, actually quite the opposite, but because he had explosive scoring nights. But because the Spurs never let the game become comfortable for him. Every catch looked crowded, every drive had help waiting. The Spurs defended him with layers instead of relying on one matchup. And you could tell the Wolves offense became too dependent on him creating impossible shots, especially late in games. That's been a warning sign with Minnesota all year. When their offense flows naturally, they look terrifying. But when the pace slows down and teams force half-court execution, suddenly everything becomes harder. The turnovers rise, the spacing shrinks, the role players disappear for stretches. Against a disciplined team like San Antonio, that becomes deadly. And this is where the bigger conversation about Minnesota starts getting uncomfortable, right? Because eventually talent alone stops being good enough. The Wolves are good, really good. But watching this series made one thing obvious. They probably need another major move if they actually want to survive long term against teams like the Spurs and Thunder. Their roster still has flaws offensively. Too much possessions die slowly. Too many pressure lands on Edwards to rescue bad possessions. And against elite defensive teams, that becomes predictable. You can already see the future Western Conference forming, and it's around versatile spacing, decision making, and relentless transition pressure. Oklahoma City has it. San Antonio suddenly has it. Minnesota still feels one piece away from fully keeping up offensively. And what has made the Spurs terrifying though, was how many different players contributed without needing constant attention. They didn't overwhelm Minnesota with superstar isolation basketball, right? They overwhelmed them with composure. One night it was perimeter shooting, another night it was defense, another night it was rebounding and transition offense. The role players actually looked prepared for playoff moments. Nobody forced shots trying to become the hero, and that's rare for a young team. Usually young teams get emotional in playoff environments. Usually they panic after bad runs. San Antonio never really did. Even in losses, they stayed patient. That patience ended up breaking Minnesota mentally by the end of the series. And the analytics side of this series quietly tells the whole story too. Nothing overly complicated. The Spurs just won the efficiency battle constantly. Better shot quality, fewer turnovers, better fourth quarter execution. Minnesota had stretches where they settled for contested jumpers, while San Antonio kept generating open looks or paint touches. That's sustainable basketball. The Spurs weren't relying on impossible shot making every night. They were generating cleaner possessions consistently. Over a 6-game series, that matters more than highlight plays. Now the scary part is what comes next, because beating Minnesota was only step 1. Waiting for them is Oklahoma City. And honestly, this matchup feels like the future of basketball arriving early. The Thunder are more experienced right now, more polished, probably deeper overall. They've been dominant all season because they pressure teams non-stop defensively, while still playing one of the smartest offenses in the league. They don't beat themselves. Their rotations are sharp, their transition game is elite, and unlike Minnesota, they can actually match San Antonio's pace and versatility. On paper, Oklahoma City should win this series, but this is exactly why the Spurs become dangerous, because they don't play scared. Young teams usually enter these matchups hoping to compete. San Antonio generally looks like they expect to win, and Wembanyama changes every equation into a playoff series, because there's literally no preparing for someone with that defensive range. Against OKC, one hot shooting night can flip an entire game instantly. One defensive masterclass from Wemby can completely kill momentum. And offensively, the Spurs are still improving so quickly that every game feels like another evolution happening in real time. That's what makes this team feel different from normal young contenders. They're learning while winning. And honestly, if you're the rest of the league, that's the terrifying part, because this Spurs run doesn't feel accidental or temporary. It feels organized. It feels sustainable. They already defend at a high level. They already have a superstar centerpiece. They already move the ball well. And they already have room to improve physicality, strategically, and roster-wise. Most rebuilding teams hope to become dangerous eventually. San Antonio already is. And after beating Minnesota in 6 the way they did, calmly, methodically, without looking overwhelmed once, to be honest with y'all, it suddenly feels very possible that this isn't just a playoff appearance. This might actually be the beginning of the next powerhouse in the Western Conference. But that's just my thoughts, man. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. If y'all enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications. And until later, I'll see you on Mars. Peace.
You telling me you falling out of love with me. Hope you can find someone to love you better than I did. Taking our memories on love and treating it like nothing. Taking our memories on love and treating it like gossip. It's my love for my grandmother make me gentle when I care for you. Tell me you're falling out of love, she's breaking my heart in two.